Can you hear
So
me,
excited.
Ziad?
Yeah, I can.
Awesome. You're live from Madrid. We're so excited to hear you. Welcome to Sunderland's 2021, and the stage is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Thank
thrilled to
you.
be here. Cool. So I'm Ziad, as I was saying, and I'm super excited to be here today chatting with you all from Madrid. I wish I could be there in person, but unfortunately, the current circumstances did not allow for that. But I'm so grateful to be in conversation with you all virtually and excited to hopefully make this as interactive and conversational as possible, despite being thousands of miles away through a screen. But what I'll go through today is a little bit more about me and my story, and then talk a little bit about sort of the power of young people and why I think it is so important that we listen to and center Gen Z voices in real time. So I guess long story short, to tell you a little bit more about me, um, I am Ziad. I am from Princeton, New Jersey, which I consider to be the greatest town on earth. And I was really lucky to grow up in Princeton and to grow up around really phenomenal educational opportunities, to have a really phenomenal American Muslim family that raised me to ask the question, not, am I going to make a difference, but how am I going to make a difference? And to know that, my life, that my privilege was not the rule, but the exception to the rule, right? And it was my job, my responsibility as a Muslim, as a human, as a person of privilege, to really think critically about the ways in which that I could show up, right, to hopefully make the world a little bit better. And so in doing so and growing up, right, I learned a lot, right, about communities, about life. And I guess it sort of came to a head it was always a political young kid. I was always like a loud, spunky kid, I guess, who was hard to parent, I'm sure, in a million and one ways. But sort of in eighth grade, I founded a nonprofit called Redefy. And I did that because I switched schools when I was in seventh grade from an all boys Catholic school to a co-ed secular school when I was in seventh grade. And in that transition, a lot of things became clear to me, right? Because I grew up in a household of myself and all other girls because my parents were separated when I was young. So I grew up with my mom and my two sisters and me, and I went to an all boys school. So there wasn't a rigid definition of what it meant to do girls things or boys things, because at home, everything was girls things. And at school, everything was boys things. It doesn't matter if it was theater or sports or whatever. But suddenly at this new co-ed school, there was a very rigid definition of what it meant to be a boy and what it meant to be a girl, right? And that boys should only talk about girls and sports or whatever it was. And that didn't sit right with me. And I began to notice how many people were being othered because of who society thought they should be, right? And none of that sat right with me as an American Muslim, as a progressive, based on my lived experiences. And so I founded, Redefy, sort of at the end of eighth grade, and we launched formally at the beginning of ninth grade in 2013, which feels like a lifetime ago. And I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I was this random middle schooler who felt uniquely privileged and positioned to do something about an issue that I felt was really pressing, right? That people were being made to feel other than or marginalized in my own hallways because people didn't know how to talk or treat people who were different than them. And I wanted to create a platform by which we could tell our stories to hopefully humanize our perception of other and our perception of each other, right? And to build community and solidarity in that way. Again, I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew it would only get worse in high school. And I had unique access to technology, and I had a lot of amazing friends at different schools. And so I wanted to leverage that to try to create this community-wide conversation about stereotypes, about current events, about social justice. And, this will date me to those of you who are young who are listening, but, this was a time before the Instagram story existed, right? The social media of the time were Ask FM and Skype and Instagram, but you couldn't even tag people in Instagram pictures. You had to tag them in the caption, right? It was a whole different time of social media where the era of infographic had not really taken off yet. And so we began talking about these things on social media, and it took off in a way that I never could have imagined, right? And I ended up finding myself in rooms that I did not know existed because our message was really resonating. Young people wanted to engage about current events, about stereotypes, because they affected us in intimate and deep ways, but our schools didn't create good infrastructure, right, to talk about these things, to engage with them, despite how deeply they were affecting us. And so we created these alternative spaces to talk about them at local libraries, right, through online discourse, through conferences, etc. And it resonated. And, I ended up, eating dinner with President Obama when I was like 15 years old or 16, right? And realizing, through having conversations and meeting with industry leaders and politicians, how often young people are being spoken about, but not spoken to. Because I'd be in these rooms and I'd be the youngest person in the room by 2 decades. And people would be like, where the hell did you come from? And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm the lamest young person I know, right? Not the coolest. And I sat there thinking, so many more of us belong at these tables. I should not be the only young person at these tables. They have so much more to learn about Gen Z, about how we feel about our future. And so I felt really empowered and frustrated at the same time. And so my junior year of high school, I got together with some friends and I said, I think we need to do something about this. There's clearly a lot of interest in what the hell is happening to young people, but people really don't know where to look and are oftentimes looking in the wrong place for answers, right? Depending on focus groups and conventional research to understand Gen Z, when really, right, we exist in a 3-dimensional world and we can advocate for ourselves. There doesn't need to be 50-year-old youth experts that consult on behalf of our generation. We can consult on our own lived experience, right? And I believe the world looks better when diverse young people have a seat at the table. And so my junior year of high school, I got together with some friends in 2016 and we founded Juve Consulting. With this nebulous idea that people should not be talking about us, they should be talking to us. With this nebulous idea that the world looks better when diverse young people have a seat at the table. And with this very clear ethos that we believe fundamentally that the expert on any reality is the person closest to that reality. Right? That if we're having a conversation about a group of people, that same group of people should be centered in that conversation always, right? Not with just us at the table, with a seat at the head of the table. And that's my why, right? Whether it's Redefy, the nonprofit I founded, or Juve Consulting, the company that I now spend the most of my time running, like that's my why. I believe that the expert on any reality is the person closest to it. And I believe that we have to move towards a world where we embrace that at the highest levels of decision-making in government, in business, in nonprofit, in marketing, wherever we exist, wherever we are. And so I founded Juve, right, as this, 16, 17-year-old. Again, didn't really know what I was doing. I had a lot of passion, and I had, phenomenal people around me. And it has been quite the roller coaster, over the last 5 years to get to where I am today. And I feel really grateful, right, to be on the journey. And of course, I've made a ton of mistakes along the way, and I haven't loved all parts of the journey. But I feel really lucky, right? I'm sitting here from our full-time offices in Times Square, New York, right, with the most amazing team around me. I just graduated from college. 4 months ago, I graduated from Yale in political science, and I got to focus my research on social media's impact on foreign policy and understanding social media as a tool of progressive change. And I got to do that simultaneously while building this business, right? And we now work with, over 25 Fortune 500 companies. We have around 25 people full-time who work here, right? And we are growing every single day and being challenged, right? As we think about how we can be a company that exists to empower young people, right? In this moment, and we do everything from sort of research to strategy, which is coming up with big and bold ideas to hopefully make our clients more resonant and smarter and bolder and braver and more beautiful. And then we also do implementation, whether it be influencer marketing or speeches or experiential marketing or things of that nature. And we have a lot of fun doing it. I get to work with my best friends. And I think what's really powerful to me about the work that I get to do every single day is I hope that Juve Consulting is a testament to what diverse young people are capable of when given the opportunity to do so, right? My team is majority women, majority people of color, 30% plus queer. And, we are a team that looks like the world that we live in and that comes together with all of our differences to celebrate one another and to create things that hopefully make society a little bit brighter, a little bit bolder, a little bit more brave. And that makes me excited every single day to wake up, that we get the opportunity to do so, that we get to speak our truth to power and to try to compel these, hegemonic institutions that exist to do things a little bit differently. And why I think that is so important is why I think it is so important that we listen to Gen Z, because we're living in a moment with so much injustice all around the world, right? And where the status quo is not serving so many people, and where there's so much that doesn't just ought to change, like must change, right? And I'm really grateful to be a part of a generation that is making our voices heard and demanding that change and organizing and mobilizing to create the world that we want to live in, that we want, for the kids after us. And I think Gen Z is a generation where, like every young generation, we are looking at the world and saying things don't have to be this way just because they've been this way. And we're trying to reimagine what it looks like to create new tables that serve more of us, that fit more of us. And what I love about the work that I get to do every day is we get to do that in practice, right? We get to uplift the voices of diverse young people and compensate them accordingly, right? And we get to try to, in some small way, disrupt that status quo, right? And reimagine storytelling and reimagine, right, how we think about young people in the business world. And what a beautiful exercise, right, that is. Because from where I'm sitting, right, we're living in a world that's characterized by us versus them narratives, right? Where there's a lot of division and polarization and misinformation and bigotry and hatred. And I want to believe that tomorrow will be better, right? Inshallah, God willing. And I want to believe that we can create the type of world that we want to live in. And I believe that young, diverse voices, right, especially, from marginalized communities, right, will be the ones that lead us forward, right? And I'm excited about that reality. I'm excited about that future. And what I always tell my clients, what is it, like the biggest conception about Gen Z is that it's possible to understand, right, just how angry we are, as well as just how imaginative we are without talking to us. A white paper, right, an article is not sufficient insofar as understanding one of the most diverse generations that has ever lived. Instead, right, it is necessary to really talk to as many diverse young people in real time to co-create the types of products, the type of campaigns, the type of action that will actually push the needle, right? And that's why we do the work that we do. That's why I'm excited to do it. And of course, I'm like an existentialist that wonders every day, am I doing the right thing? And am I doing enough? And, I just graduated from college and I'm really an adult now after building, a brand about being youth for so long. And that's crazy. And I'm asking myself a lot of hard questions every single day. But that truth, that I believe that the world needs to change. I believe that young people will be the ones that help us do that. And that the only way that that's going to happen is if those in power right now actually talk to young people in real time. That's what keeps me going. And the wonderful young people around me keep me inspired and keep me believing that anything is possible, especially when young people are at the forefront. And so I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to hopefully connect with as many of you as possible listening, to help forge that world, right? To help build communities and ideas and creativity that push us forward. And so to whatever extent, I can be a source of inspiration or motivation or community or information or whatever I can be, I want to be. So please connect with me. I'm at Ziad Ahmed, just my name across social media. My email is contact@ziadahmed@gmail.com. And I would love to just carry this conversation forward. I don't love always speaking through a computer without seeing you all and hearing from you all, because I'm all about building relationships, right? Having these conversations that matter, that are important, that are hard, right? Around where we ought to be going and where we are now. But what I believe to be true is that young people were not the leaders of tomorrow, we're the leaders of today. And so the question becomes, are folks really going to wait until tomorrow to talk to us? And the hope is no, because the problems that we need to solve are happening right now, and we cannot afford to wait for the solutions. We deserve a world where we are given the space to dream and the agency to actualize those dreams, and where we distribute opportunity more equally and do a lot less talking about the power of young people and a lot more empowering of young people. So inshallah, that world is possible with all of us working together, and I look forward to that. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to hearing from many of you soon. Thank you so much.